Okay.
Okay. This is our second take at this, guys. Thanks for joining us wherever you're coming from. We're going to try and keep this around 30 minutes. Appreciate you. And let's just get into it and go from there. I'm going to share the screen. And there we go. Perfect. Okay. Can you guys see now?
Yep.
Okay. For those of you watching this that didn't join us live, that was a real short intro, but we have to start over again because I had it screwed up here. So this is a website. Obviously, you guys have been here a lot, hopefully, and you know everything about this race there is to know by now. But once you get to the homepage of the website, real easy, just under info, you're going to go to the course right here. And this is the course page. These two maps, one of them is the overall, the long course, one of them's half. So we're going to start off with the long course. The half's contained within it, and I'll just point out some of the turnarounds and how the bike's different and things like that. So one rule to keep in mind, and over the next meeting, we can go over some of the mandatory stuff, although I'll mention it during this one as well. But it's mandatory for support on the bike for the long course, for the full. And the half, it's not mandatory. We do recommend it, but not mandatory. Just keep in mind, if you are doing the half, that there will only be one aid station out there, and it's past the halfway point. So, but that being said, I mean, I've done races myself, or I've done training myself where I've ridden 60 miles and haven't had to stop. Is it ideal? No. Can I do it? Yes. And if you take your time refueling and transition, you should be okay. So it's definitely doable, although we don't recommend it. And then anyone on the long course. Yeah. Sorry. Did someone say something?
Yeah. Is it okay to ask questions as you go?
Yeah, feel free to kind of interrupt me if we get to a point where it's more interruptions than it is me talking. We'll have to just look at the end. So,
okay. What's on the aid station?
Hammer products.
Okay.
They've sponsored us. So if you want to have exactly what we'll have on the course, go with Hammer. I believe Perpetuum. They've lightened that formula over the years. So Perpetuum, we may have some heat available, but right now it's just the Perpetuum. And you guys will get some samples and stuff in your bag. And gels. We'll have gels. Yep. Okay, so let's dive in here, guys. All right, so this is the full course. And let me zoom in. Now the swim, as you can see, is super detailed on this map. Lake Laros, which I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right. None of the maps that we ever saw had the name on it. Just recently, I actually saw one on satellite, but we had to ask a bunch of farmers out there before we actually found the name. And I actually, if I remember right, it wasn't a farmer. It was a lady at the rental car place in Olofsvik that actually knew. So Lake Laros is what it's called, or Laros. It's, believe it or not, the lake, even though it has a spillway from the ocean on the far northern corner right here, it's kind of a triangle, the top tip. That spillway lets salt water in for the best we could tell, but I mean, it's fresh water. That didn't taste salty at all. So nice and clear. It's a black sands beach. Didn't really run into any rocks or anything, sandy the entire time. Now, depending on the year, in the past years, like 2020, I couldn't tell you. Obviously, we weren't out there. 2019, it was low rain. I don't think they got as much snow as they have in the past. So the lake was a lot lower. So where we would have originally started swimming probably 25 meters out, I think they ended up running almost 100 meters to get out. Now, some of them could have swam, I mean, where you're not going to grab dirt. But they continued walking / running, whatever you want to call it, up until it was over their chest. If it ever gets that way out there for you guys, if it's deep enough to swim where you're not grabbing dirt, swim. It's easier than drudging through that. So definitely up to you. Hopefully it's a little deeper sooner this year. But once they got out to around right here, if you can see my cursor, it got considerably deeper. It's not super deep anywhere in the lake. I think it averages anywhere from 6 feet to 12 feet, depending on where you're at. There might be some sections that are deeper, but that first part here is definitely shallow, especially in a low rain year. So you'll swim counterclockwise. They have big orange circular buoys. They were bright. Last year, we underestimated the visibility, and we had a couple red ones out there and a couple of the big bright orange, not the tetrahedral blow up ones. Those were the red ones that people couldn't see nearly as well. The orange ones were the ones they put for yacht race. The what? I'm sorry.
No problem.
Someone wanted to say something or no? Okay. Anyway, so we're going to go try and get more of those orange ones. They were better for sure, bigger, brighter. And given the fact that we're starting at midnight, keep in mind, guys, this won't be dark. Obviously, it's midnight sun around there, but it's not bright sun. It's not like we're not in the Arctic circle, although we're close. So it will be that twilight blue hour kind of light. So keep in mind that it's going to be harder to see. It isn't a particularly dangerous swim. There aren't, that being said, the wind can kick up, and I've seen, hell, we went out there almost 2 years before to scout it out, and I saw a water spout on that lake, which is weird. But there was definitely one out there. The wind was so strong. Tony actually went off-road in the car. But then I've been out there countless other times where there's no wind at all. So it's Iceland. If you've been there before, if you've lived there, you certainly know even better than us that the wind can be the most brutal thing in the world, or it can not be there and be there 2 seconds later. So shouldn't be a particularly hard swim. The water being cold in Fahrenheit, it's anywhere from, it can be 50 all the way up to 58. Celsius, I think 10 to 13 degrees, anywhere in there.
Aaron,
Yeah.
is it going to be dark enough that you're going to have us wear like glow sticks or something up around our swim caps or something?
Most likely, yeah. We'll figure out something like that I'll at least have as backup. It's hard because the light changes so quick every day. I think it's 7 minutes less light as you go past the solstice. So we did not test that out because we didn't make the decision to do that until after that time had passed. But given the almanacs and the people that live there said that it should be doable, it's at least doable with the glow sticks, like you said, and some way of illuminating at least the swimmers, buoys, things like that. So yes, worst case, that's what we will have, and we'll know leading up to it as well. But it's definitely doable. So we'll have those on hand. And for those of you that haven't swam with any kind of glow stick or anything, they tuck in behind on your swim cap here, behind your goggles, between the strap and the swim cap really well. And we'll talk more about that later, but wouldn't worry too much about that. We can also have things, the light vests on the kayakers, and if they're positioned around the buoys, that's very easy to see. And if you know you're not swimming in open ocean where you're going to get carried away, the anxiety level goes down quite a bit if the visibility isn't there like you'd want. So that swim, I mean, that's really all there is to it, guys. Anytime you can stand up during it, there were a couple points that people would do it. I definitely would not recommend it unless you can move forward with less effort than if you were swimming, which is rare outside of the start and finish right here. So we're hoping for a more rain, more snow, more of a melt. Sorry about that. Thought I'd turn those texts off. Moving on. Okay. So
a question on the swim.
Yeah, go ahead.
It looks like you allow
You cut out there. I'm sorry. I allow what?
Gloves. You can wear gloves, it looks like, from the 2019 video.
You know what? You can wear whatever you want in this. You can have a buoy behind you as long as you're, well, no, I mean, you can use one of the personal flotation buoys. You can use a rescue tube, you pull it. You can use a snorkel. You can, I don't care. I mean, anyone that uses that stuff isn't going to be in contention for the lead spots anyway. Yeah, use gloves, use booties. The booties are, I don't know if I kept those mandatory. I'm sorry that I don't know that off the top of my head. Either way, I would definitely recommend at least bringing a pair of shoes down to the swim exit. The booties getting in and out, it's not like a lot of the other X tries where like Kelpman, you get out, there's rocks. Norway, you get out, there's a lot of rocks. You get out here, it's sand. It quickly does turn to rock. The road is made of, it's like gravel or limestone or something like that. So definitely at least bring shoes or flip-flops, sandals, something down there. If you want to wear booties, that should be enough. Something down. It's a very cool, just area down there that no one will disturb your stuff. And that's a walk from transition, which is what I want to show you right now, guys. So give me 1 second. Google Earth is a lot better for showing you. Go ahead. Ask questions.
So I've got like surfing booties, and I'll be wearing the thickest wetsuit that I possibly can because I hate cold water and I'm not going to win. But if anybody's got good recommendations for not surfing boots but swimming boots that they could put in the chat, I would greatly appreciate that. Or also swimming gloves.
So Hoob is our sponsor, and you can get a discount, and they have great booties. There's certainly others that work too, but those are the ones we recommend. So I can
say the name of that company again, please.
Hoob, H-U-U-B.
Yeah, I put in.
Okay, thanks.
And I'm gonna have to look up the discount code. I had posted it before, but if anyone has that from before when we sent it out, please go ahead and post that if you do before me. But let me zoom in here. Give me just a second, and we can check this out on the satellite. All right, so this is the lake. Come on, come on, come on. It's loading. Okay, so as it loads and gets better, I can talk about this. So from a satellite view like this, parking is that in that morning, you can see right here and right here, you should be able to get in both spots. And we talked to this farmer last minute, last year. And that's the cool thing about Iceland. For anyone that hasn't been or doesn't live there, myself and my business partner, Tony, the owners of the race, we have a crew in Iceland that's absolutely fantastic. So obviously they know all this, but we were really pleasantly surprised every time we came there. And just before the race, everyone's willing to give approvals. It's a land that, as long as you respect it, they're very willing to let you on their land. They're not too worried about, people doing stupid stuff, because hopefully everyone's respectful. The farmer there, landowner, was super nice. Let us use his land. We asked him actually, I think 2 days before or the night before. And right here and here is how you would get in with the car. We marked it with a blue flag last year, big 20-foot blue flags. And you turn in off the road and you park anywhere in here. Now, keep in mind that if you are in the half and you park your car here, it's going to be relatively difficult to go get it later. The good thing is we don't have enough people where we couldn't try to help you find a way back. We'll look at potentially having a couple vehicles being able to run people in the half back. If you're in the half and you're listening right now and that is an issue, you parking here and then taking off out of transition and holy crap, how do I get back to my car at the end of the day? Talk to us. Let's kind of feel out how many of those people have that issue and go from there. But we'll have that in the back of our head and a solution. Now, if there were 100, 200, 300 people, something like that, we'd be running shuttles and organizing all of that. But I don't know that it'll be this big of an issue. We will reach out to everyone in the half as well and just kind of feel that out. But in general, if you're in the full, you get a ride down here, you've got support. So you're good to go, right? You park, you walk your bike over, you're checking it that morning. Make sure that you've got your helmet, your bike, your white light in the front that's constant. And that is even more important with this race now because we're starting at midnight. And in that twilight hour, that white light's super important. Constant white light on the front and a blinking red on the back. And if you think you're going to have a battery issue, then carry away. I know this sounds cumbersome, but you can do a little charger and a cord to charge it as you go. Some people did that in Alaska, or you can just swap it out with a different light if you carry two of them when it goes out with your support team. But that light has to stay on for your own safety. So you pull in, you park anywhere in here, and it'll be obvious. It's not so obvious right here. But when you pull in, plenty of room, you park on the side. A lot of people just come down here, U-turn, and so they're ready to go to get out. Then you walk down. You can walk straight down this giant padlock, it's called. If I can get a picture to pop up here. The reason it's called giant padlock for any of you, yeah, of course the picture doesn't show it, but there is a gate right here that's got a giant padlock on it. And this is our transition area. So it's not paved. That's why, you know, when you run back, you want shoes, sandals, booties, something. You change into your bike shoes and you get on your bike, or you get your bike up onto the road here. Obviously, you're watching for cars and you get on your bike. So in the morning, when you come in and you put your bike here, you can go back to your car, you can chill out. I mean, honestly, there's not a whole lot of transition security. There's no point. There's no one anywhere. Anyone that's out there has something to do with the race, whether it's volunteer, which quite frankly, we don't have a whole hell of a lot. There's really no need in the morning like that. We've got some kayakers. We had some people playing drums and doing some music, and we have a fire barrel down at the start. So there's those people wandering around, but nothing really to worry about with your stuff. Obviously, it still falls on you. You're responsible for it, but we will have someone watching transition to make sure, you know, no one pulls in with a car and loads up, but it's Iceland and crime's pretty much non-existent. So anyway, you bring your stuff over, hang out in your car. We walk you all down. You can hang out in transition. We gather up at the padlock fence here and we walk you down a little early, and we'll walk you all the way down this road right here. And it's just a little gravel road. And then this part right here is where we start. Usually it's a little clearer. I guess it's my connection, but this part right here is where we start, guys. It's black sand beach. And this green, last time we were here, this was all black sand. This green wasn't really here, but you can just hang out here. All the spectators, your support, they can be right at the start and the finish. This is the finish as well. And they can spot people going out and coming in for quite a ways. So the fun part are all the Arctic terns that nest in here. So that should be fun. They were dive bombing us last year. They don't really slam into your head. But if you grab a stick and you kind of just wave it a little, they think you're taller than you are, and it's more funny than anything. And for people that haven't been around Arctic terns, they seem more aggressive than they really are. But just be aware, they're down there. For the start, the basic shape of the course, you'll start right here and you'll swim out to here, kind of even with where this little peninsula pops out here. Again, last year they could stand up like 2/3 of the way out to about right in here before they started swimming. Now, let me say this, it's X-Tri, it's pretty relaxed, actually. Not a lot of people out there. We've been fortunate enough that if we have to change things once snow melts and people have boots on the ground and we see water levels, and we're never going to change anything unless, one, we have to for safety reasons of some kind. Maybe it's property reasons or weather, or we just find a better solution to the course. It's fairly simple, the course here. So if we were to change anything, you're still swimming in this lake. Everything still applies. It might just be a different direction. I don't see that happening, but I'm just putting that out there so that I'm going to get there 3-4 days early. If we see something has changed and there's a better way to swim it, I mean, at most what would happen is we start over here or down here. I say that because I don't want any type A personalities to be like, oh my God, you changed it, I don't know what's going on. I mean, we're walking you down. We're going to be there the whole time. So if anything does change on any course, guys, we're going to let you know. We're going to make it easy to understand. So just kind of do us a favor and roll with it. Although we're going to try and stick to what we've put out there. So anyway, the swim just really is a clockwise swim. We take you down as close to this corner here as we can to get all the distance in. And then you swim back along this edge here and just hug the shore. Last year we put a buoy or two out here, but really by the time you guys got down here, I had mentioned to everyone in the beginning, once you get down here and you see the land on your left, just kind of hug the land the best you can to get the most meters out of it. And then once you come back in, you just meet up with your support, or maybe you don't have it if you're in the half, but you run all the way back to the padlock area, get on your bike and go.
Does it get shallow around that peninsula there?
Do what? I'm sorry.
Does it get shallow around that peninsula that you said to hug?
Over here, no, not really. I mean, you can it's not, from what we saw last time, it's not something that is real deep and then all of a sudden, boom, it's shallow. So, I mean, you'll be able to see if you start swimming too close to shore at some point and you start almost grabbing a handful, just correct. I mean, we'll have buoys out there, but yeah, that's kind of the rule of it, obviously. So let me go to the actual map now. Okay, so you're on the bike. And this is for the full. You're heading west and you're heading towards Olafsvik, which is where the finish line is. And if you're following along here, and this is easy to see if you just follow the red numbers here. So the first one you see is 20 and it goes by 20s, 20, 40, 60, 80, and so forth. So you go past Olafsvik, which is kind of cool. I mean, your support gets in the car. They can probably safely get up to Olafsvik in this area around here before you do and cheer you on. They could pull into the parking lot where the finish is. There's parking there. In Iceland, if you pull off the road, try obviously first and foremost to do it in a safe area where there's an actual pull off and there's a parking lot and all this stuff. If there's an extra big shoulder and you want to pull off, we don't recommend it. If you have to, make sure your wheels are both on the other side of the white line that's on the edge. Turn your car off, close your doors. If you have any children with you, please don't bring your children out. I mean, if they're standing right next to the car responsibly, you know your kids better than we do. Just take extra care of that. We can't, if we have people in the middle of the road being unsafe with this, we will not be invited back. The country is very, very welcoming. By comparison to what we have to deal with in the US as far as approvals, they really want us there and they let us kind of do whatever we want within reason. We got to let everyone know what's going on, obviously, and that, but they are not nearly as strict as we're used to. Let's not take advantage of that, guys. So always have your head on a swivel, and that goes for the athletes, spectators, support, everyone that's out there. So we're following along the 20 here. These little blue strips you see right here, these little blue lines are kind of hard to see, but just underneath the water droplet here, and that water droplet and that red cross there, that represents our finish line where and the second transition where we'll have water and medical. But if you got an emergency where you absolutely needed it, you could stop in there while you're on the bike, but it's not just there. Okay, but these little stripes here represent the road grates to keep the sheep and cattle out of the town. And those are typically before and after as you enter and as you exit most of the towns or all the towns. So you'll see one here just before Olafsvik. If you haven't ridden over one before, they're a little intimidating and scary. But once you do it, they're fine. Do not slow down. Do not turn your wheel. In fact, going faster over them. I rode over them in, I believe, Norway and Scotland when I did those races. And theirs are a little bigger, and I literally thought I was going to wipe out, but I was told right over them fast and controlled, and it just is a vibration. It's like, and you're over it. Okay, shouldn't throw you off your bike or anything like that. But be aware there's one before Olafsvik, and there's one after Olafsvik. Oh, quite a ways actually after you leave Olafsvik, and you'll see these bird icons again, just like over at the start. There's a bird right here around the northern part of the national park, western Olafsvik, after you are out of town. There is a nesting grounds. That is a very interesting area for those Arctic terns. I've seen them bounce off windshields. You'll see them laying in the ditch, dead birds, just to be frank about it. I have not seen them bounce off someone's helmet. I have seen them come close. But if you're aware that they're there, you hold the course. I would say that one of those, even bouncing off your helmet, is not going to cause an accident. I could be wrong. I would say the overreaction and people being scared when they come close to you is what's going to probably cause an accident or someone to fall off. If someone's experienced something else, feel free to chime in. But I did not see anybody get hit last year, and I think it's pretty rare they bounce off the cars as well. They are a very defensive bird. In fact, they defend other birds' nests besides their own as well. So just be aware of that. There's another grate as you leave that area right here.
Question.
Yeah.
They're flying, is that correct? Like around here, we've got
Correct.
turkeys and geese that like to just walk around on the road. These guys aren't gonna be
They're-
walking around, they're just flying.
They look like seagulls, except they're a little skinnier and leaner, and they've got like black on their head, and they just hover around and make a lot of noise, and then they'll just dive down. And 99% of the time that we saw them, they'd come within 5 to 10 feet of people, cars, and they just veer off. They're just trying to scare you away. Okay. All right, so 40, 60, 80, and you'll notice 80 actually is after you turn. This section here, and I'm going to use the numbers because I am terrible at pronouncing it. Most of you will be as well. But you're on 574, and as you come around, you're going to hang a left here, and you're going to go up. This is your first major climb. I mean, in reality, there's rolling hills and climbs and little mountains everywhere. I don't know if you can call them mountains, foothills everywhere on this course. It's just kind of nonstop, but nothing that's like, wow, that is absolutely a huge climb. And the ones that maybe you could say that, they're over pretty quick. Now, and what I mean by that is right over in here by the start of the bike, there's a big one there. But this is a truly massive climb. You are going up over this mountain pass that you're also going to be Snæfellsjökull. You get on the run this dormant volcano that was written about by Jules Verne for Journey to the Center of the Earth. That's actually what he wrote about, this volcano. And so you're going over a slightly less high version of this, not quite up as high for altitude, but super steep, 2-lane road, very little shoulder. Safe enough for you to do on the climb and the descent. There's very little traffic, especially starting at midnight, but you have to be aware of your surroundings. You have to be in control of your bike. I would not recommend a tri-bike. If that's all you have, that's fine. It's not that is going to ruin your race or anything like that. When I say I wouldn't recommend it, if you have access to a road bike, you are comfortable on a road bike, then by all means use that instead. But you do not have to go out and buy a road bike. You're not going to have a bad race with a tri-bike. So that's what I mean. You're going to be up climbing. You're not going to be an arrow. It's super steep in here. And if you look at this chart, this elevation chart, right at 80K, you're going from what's almost 0 meters up to 400 meters. So you're climbing about 1,200 feet just right there in a section that's less than, I mean, I would say that that's about 5K, maybe 3 miles. Peter, are you on? Can you talk a little bit about that climb if you are? One of our, I believe he was runner-up last in 2019, and one of our top finishers. He was on the call a little bit ago, but he did this the other day. Now, we have not done this on the bike. This is a new section that we added, and the reason we haven't done it is because this section right here, after this little lake you see, is the descent, and that was all that wasn't paved. It was dirt. So it stopped pavement at the lake, and it was dirt going down, so we couldn't do it. It was just too fast to even attempt that. But they paved all this. So it was a great opportunity to extend the mileage or the kilometers and also put a ton more climbing in this. This climb is very daunting, especially because there's a lot of times when this is foggy or, the visibility and plus you can't, if you get off your bike, it's very tough to get back on because of the grade here, very tough to the point where if you're not good at that, you may have to go downhill a little bit to get on and then turn around and come back up to be able to get on. Just keep that in mind. Or just walk it up. Anyway, so that's the first time you climb that. You're going to climb that twice. So once you get back over here, you'll be on the right side of the road. And if you remember, you were on the other side as you went by Olaspik on your way to 20 kilometers, but now you're on your way to 100. So you're on the other side of the road heading the other way, pass by the swim. Grundefurter, you're going to hit a bunch of grates going in and a bunch going out for the cattle there. Be aware. And then you're on your way out. This is absolutely gorgeous. The one thing about this course is, I mean, this bike course is probably one of the most beautiful that you'll ever ride. It's absolutely incredible. And you'll just make your way around. It's pretty self-explanatory here. There's really not any turnoffs or anything to get lost. We had a bunch of people that were worried the first year about that. And I mean, we're going to have blue big flags at all the corners, and we wrap some bright colored, it'll be either pink or orange or yellow. I'll let you know exactly what color, but just barricade tape that we wrap on like road signs or barricade, the metal road barricades on the side. We'll tie it around or whatever. So the big flag and those barricade tapes, those will be wrapped the direction you're going to go. So you'll see them and you just follow the direction they are. This happens to be a right turn. Most of these are right turns. So you'll just follow it. Other than that, there's no markings on the road. There's no reason to have any markings. It's way too long for that. There's really no way you can get lost. The important areas here, I would say, obviously we're going to have those marked, and we'll have someone at this area specifically. These areas out here where they're just right-hand turns, it may just be the flag and maybe a couple other little markings. But this area here to go up and this area here to come down, could potentially be confusing if people don't memorize what they should do here. We want to make sure that everyone in the beginning is going straight, not turning up the back way of the mountain. We want to make sure everyone's turning left here or turning right if it's their second time climbing. So we'll have someone here, and then they're just going to watch that whole area. And it's good because we want someone at the bottom on each side, and we want someone at the top just in case there's any kind of an emergency. We're probably going to center the medical around the finish because it's not very far for them to get in a car and come over here. It's entirely possible we're going to try to get someone up at the top here. That would make a lot of sense to stage them there. But we'll have someone close. Just know that. Now, as you're coming around here, you're going to just join right in. You're just going to hang a right and you'll climb again. So I haven't done the math. I think it's entirely possible that the back of the pack people, we love you guys that are in the back, but you may be going towards 80K here while we have the front of the pack people in the very front going towards 200K. If I do the math there, maybe I'm off, but let's assume that that's the case, okay? If that's the case, there may be a little bit of merging here. I don't know that there would be. Just because there's so few people. Let's say that we even got up to 100 for the race. You're going to be so spread out here, you probably will never see another person for the whole time you're on the bike. You know, who knows? So just be aware of that. Be careful. You shouldn't see very many cars. We didn't see very many cars when we were daytime, let alone midnight, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. I would venture to see you'll see very, very, very few out there. But again, we don't know exactly how visibility will be. If there's a lot of clouds, the weather sucks. You know, it could be twilight looking for hours and hours. So just be, you know, really aware of your surroundings. So you come back down here, you turn in, and you're at transition. You're good to go. One thing I want to say about this descent, I knew from just riding it in a car that it was going to be difficult. The descent is extremely dangerous. It is extremely fast. I will say and state for the record and on record here that's going to be recorded that, hold on one second. Okay. Just be aware, guys, that this could be the most dangerous thing you've ever done on a bike. This is so fast that experienced cyclists have come back to me and said it scared the crap out of them. So riding your brakes, it's not something that is a ton of really sharp switchbacks all over. If you're controlled and you're kind of riding your brakes to a certain extent, you can see what's up ahead. You can gauge it well enough where you're not going to like fly off the mountain or anything. But if you're one of those people that doesn't listen to those warnings and you are going as fast as you can, you never touch your brakes, you could have a real problem. I mean, potentially fatal going that fast down this. Be very, very careful. Ride your brakes where you need to keep a controlled descent. Especially, we are not allowing discs. We allowed them the first year. We are certainly not allowing them the second year that we have this. With this ascent and descent here, possibility of high winds, it is not something that is going to be safe whatsoever. So it's not happening.
Sorry, Aaron, can I jump
Yeah.
in with the question? No discs, but are you allowing deeper rimmed?
Yeah, you can go with the, if you want to go 808s or any equivalent to that, by all means, that's fine. Go ahead. All right, so let's jump over to the
A quick question. Are there going to be any porta potty locations across this course?
Are there going to be any what? I'm sorry, you cut out.
Porta potties?
God, I still, sorry.
Any bucket, porta potty?
Oh, porta
Toilets.
can. When you, no, not that we will have something at the swim for you in transition. We have some there. And there are restrooms that you can hit up in Olafsvik. And if you wanted to stop, although I don't know the time you're going to be going by it is the problem. Over here, there's a coffee shop that you could use the bathroom. But what we recommend is just carrying some toilet paper in a bag. And if you absolutely have to, and it's an emergency, then just be humble about it, be hidden, bury, don't leave trash, whatever you can do, okay? And only do it in emergency if you have to. We will have restrooms, like I said, at T2 and Olafsvik and at the swim. So those will be at T1 when you pass by at 100. So you can hit them then, yeah. And you could hit it at Olafsvik at the end. You could hit it at 20, but anything in between there, you're gonna fend for yourself. So that's definitely better than nothing. It's something out there. Okay, so on the half, you're starting the same way. You're going through Olafsvik, same exact thing as the full. You go up the mountain, you descend, you go into Olafsvik, you're done. So the only difference really, besides obviously not doing this whole other section of the course out to the east, is when you do the descent here, instead of turning right to go east, you just turn left to finish. That's it, okay? Super simple. So the aid station, if you need one, will be right after 60 right here. Let me zoom in. And I'm gonna go to Google Earth in a second. But the run course for the full actually comes all the way down here and kind of doglegs over. And we'll have that aid station available over in here. Let me go to the Google Earth. And I'll update these maps. Sorry. To show that. Zoom out. Never shows this road on Google. Come on. Okay. So this is the bike course right here. And so this is the run course, and the full run comes all the way down here. And then it doglegs over here through this bog and all the way down here. So what we're going to do is we will have an aid station right here. It's not going to be where this road. Now, depending on the conditions, this bog might be worse than it was. So the aid station might be right here versus towards the end. I think last year we had it kind of halfway. So we'll let you know at the briefing, but this aid station for those of you on the half for the bike will either be right here, or down here, right there. Sorry, right there. I'm not 100% sure. So we'll let you know that the day before where that's going to be. But really close. I mean, if you're on the bike, that's like 30 to 60 seconds apart. It's just what's more convenient for us to have it. Okay, so back to the bike course. All right, so that's the half. Everyone gets off at T2, same spot. And let me jump over to Google Earth to show you. This is Olafsvik. So when you come in, this is the Hall Community Center. There's a whole bunch of names I heard it called, but this is where we're going to have packet pickup. This is where we're going to have the finish of the race. Pretty much everything that we can have. It worked out great. We served soup out of here last time. The run got crazy with weather, super windy, cold, sleet, snow, rain, everything at the top of the mountain. People came down, they were suffering. And when they came in here, it's warm, it's really good. It's a really good place to recover. We're gonna hopefully do the soup again this year. It was great when we did it before. But T2 is in this area right here. So when you ride in off the bike, you're just gonna kind of veer off here. Actually, they veered off right here because it's paved. And then we just had the racks set up here. we prefer that these are temporary racks that you're, especially if you're in the full, obviously, or if you just have support in general. Your support, I hope they grab your bike, put it in the car. So, because we're not going to set up all the racks in here. We're only going to have enough racks for maybe the half. The full, you have support. They should be in there with you, helping you get changed to go on the run. They can grab your bike, put it in the car. So if you're in the full, your support has to grab all your stuff. You can have some time. Some people took 10, 15 minutes. They went inside, warmed up, changed, went to the bathroom, all of that stuff. That's fine. But if your stuff's there for 2-3 hours, that's a problem if you're in the full. So just get it into the car, please. When you take and then everyone can park here. There's plenty of parking. And then when you take off on the run, last year we had them come out here and go up over here and then back down and around. We may cut that out this year, but if we do, you'll just come out and turn and go right this way. If we don't, again, you'll come out, run along the road here, go up this hill, come down. It's really easy. We'll put little markers up. It's super easy to follow. Either way, you end up right here and you just follow this road around until, let me make sure it's the right one. Yeah. And so bikes will be coming in on the right side and you'll be going out on the other side of this, heading east, running on the shoulder. And then you just turn and you go up the mountain road. And this is all a climb. Now, here's the thing. There's courses, and this is my opinion on it. I've heard a lot of this from other people. There's courses that seem harder out there because they're just enough of a grade where you can attempt to run them the entire time. You can push yourself. But when it's so steep that you can run just a little and you're like, oh, screw it. I got to power walk this. Now, I did see a couple people running it and they were our leaders. But for the most part, most people power walk this and they attempted to run every, 10, 15 minutes, whatever. But it's so difficult and zaps you so much because, you're running, it's up a mountain. This is a dormant volcano that you're going up. So you follow this road, and I'm going to jump back because it kind of disappears here. I'm going to jump back to the easier thing to follow. So the yellow, definitely going over the time I said, guys, but we're getting there. And as of now, I have that little loop in the beginning here. You can see it. And you run over these grates. You turn, you go up the mountain here. It's just a mountain road. There's no turnoffs really. Any turnoffs are little single track trails that kind of lead nowhere for the most part on a lot of them. Now, once you get towards the top, there are some single track trails that go up to the glacier, and depending on the year, how big that glacier stretches, what kind of melt there is, the safety, we may last minute call an audible and do an out and back up in here where the glacier is, or over on this side even on the way back. If we do that, that will eliminate this dog leg here. This dog leg that we have at the end, this out and back section, is solely just to get mileage in. Now, last year it turned out cool for us. We thought, a lot of the runners agreed, that you run through a bit of a bog there and it can be as deep as kind of ankle deep. And yeah, your socks get wet, your shoes get wet. That's extra. It is what it is. If we add a section here that's an out and back on either side or both sides that take you off this fire road, this mountain road, then we would eliminate this at the bottom here. You would turn around wherever we would need you to make the mileage correct still. So that's a very easy thing. We would put someone there to direct people, since it is what potentially could be a last minute change, but I'm telling you ahead of time about that. So just know it'll either look exactly like this or we'll eliminate this and add it back up in here somewhere. And we would only do that for interest. It'd be super cool to run up to the foot of a glacier, potentially go onto that a little bit if it's safe. So we'll do our best to try and make that happen. There's an aid station. There's two of them. There's one at about 10K just after, right where you see this side road come in. And there's another one, it'll either be like where I said, kind of after you turn to do this dog leg, maybe down at the end. And what we'll do is we'll kind of shift that, or we'll make two of them. One of them would be dedicated to the bike coming by wherever we tell you that's going to be there. And the other would be for this run. I would ideally want to use the same one. And that would all depend on if people are reaching this run course after everyone had come around on the bike. Ideally that would happen and we just move it and use it for the run. So that's where you're going to see those. Now, if your support isn't going to run it with you, if they are going to run it, they need to run at least half of it to this U-turn and be able to get in a car somehow. Or if they're going to bring a car over here and join you for the second half of it coming back, that's fine too. But you have to have a way to get to the car. If you choose to leave a car here, or you have a car somewhere on the course, you have to get it yourself, with the exception of the half people over here at T1. We will figure out ways to help you, because that is our fault that you're being forced to park there. It is not our fault you're being forced to park anywhere here. That's your choice. So if you're doing that, you got to figure out a way to get your car on your own. But you can have support for the first half only, the second half only, or the full thing. And that also goes, let me switch over to the half, because there's a big area here where this road meets up, where if you're in the half, we're not having 50 people or 20 people parked there at once. You can't park there for hours on end, but you can come in this side road here and meet your runner. And if you have a couple people and one person wants to get out and run back and the other person drives the car back, that's fine. But we're definitely not leaving any cars here for sure. This is a parking lot over here. You could get away with it for a little bit. Here, this is the middle of a road. You can't do that, okay? But if you needed to park for a second, wait for your runner, that's fine, and then you leave after. But you can come in here to spectators limited and cheer people on at the turnaround, or if they're in the half and you just want to see them, that's fine too. This is not the easiest road to traverse in a car. It's going to take you longer here than it would in this section, but there are no cars from the race allowed on this main road that's the full run course in the half. You either can come in the side one, stop here, cheer them on, and go back out. You can come around to here, which is what most people did to cheer them on, even if they weren't joining them. I will say this, if you're support and you want to run half of it, either half or the full with them the whole time, you have to be prepared for it just like they do. This is not an easy run course. It is very, very challenging. And last year we had more issues, or not, I keep saying last year, I'm sorry, 2019, we had more issues with support needing to be rescued. When I say rescued, that's a bit dramatic. When I say rescued, I mean like we had to take our vehicles, because we're the only ones allowed to go up through here and get support that could not stay with their runners. And I will say that it was July and we had snow up here. It was sleet snow. It wasn't, freezing to the point where, it was fluffy and all that. It was definitely wet, but it was raining, snowing, sleeting sideways. The wind was so bad. The fog was so bad you couldn't see. And I can say that a lot of support was definitely not prepared. So if you are support or you're going to bring support, make sure, if they're in mountainous areas, they're training on those. If they're not, if it's flatlanders, get them on treadmills where they're walking hours at a time on huge inclines, at least something like that. And you can kind of jog these down, this massive downhill and this one coming back. But keep in mind, that's hitting your thighs pretty good. Your quads are dying from that. So you're going to have issues there. So that's really about it on the run. There's no need to really overcomplicate it anymore than that. Yeah.
As far as the terrain itself, road shoes, trail shoes, I saw that it's pavement and dirt road.
The pavement's like 2%. The only paved part is right here. Mm-hmm. This little section right there. This a little right there, but this loop is dirt here coming out. This little section's all the pavement there is. Everything else is dirt. Mm-hmm. Now, a majority of this is fire road. It's kind of like gravel mixed with dirt. And, it's not particularly like crazy roots of trees and all that you would get on a forest single track mountain bike type trail. It's not that. Now, keep in mind, if we add the out and backs here by the glacier, that'll be single track and way more challenging as far as that goes. But yeah, I would just do trail shoes. Because even though a regular shoe would be okay on that terrain, you got to think how many steps you're doing, and you are getting some sliding, even if it's a little bit. And all of that's going to add up to whether it's soreness or a potential injury or just loss in time or whatever effort. I would definitely have something with some grip, some teeth on it for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Cool.
All right, so let's just dive into questions because that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Is there
And this is
a
a random question, but the race is the night between Friday and Saturday, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
It's technically midnight going into Saturday. Yes.
Sweet, sweet.
is there a place to see the time results from 2019? And did you also have the half in 2019?
No, we did not have the half. Should be right here. If you go under info, results, 2019 results.
How relevant are these results, Aaron, if the course is
Not
the course
not relevant.
different?
The swim would be relevant, assuming that, I mean, all things considered, anyone that was, walking a good chunk in the beginning, like the 200-300 meters, that's going to be just as slow as if you swam it, if not slower. So I would say that the swims may be a little faster if there's more water. But the bike will definitely be much, much, much slower this year. Not only is it 17, 18 miles longer, but there's, like 3.5 to 4,000 feet of climbing more. I apologize, that's not meters. Let's say 1,000 to 1,100 more meters of climbing. And it's again, it's not really a descent that you can make up safely. I mean, you somewhat, but go ahead. What?
Was there a good chance of rain? I know you're talking about the wind is the biggest factor. Up at the top of the mountain, I'm assuming that there's going to be all that sleet and wind, but is there down in the lowlands? What's the chances of the weather?
So they went through everything last year. Chances are that whatever you are worried about will happen. Let's just say that. Chances are it'll change 10 to 12 times. They had wind, then they didn't have wind. They had sun, they had fog, they had rain. I would say over half the bike, they had a very light drizzle, but it was on and off that added up. There was a lot of like sun peeking through the clouds, which is great for the scenery side of it. I think it adds up to being more taxing than people think by the end, unless you live there and you're used to it. The wind was not as big a factor on the bike last year at all. But the second I say that, then it's such a big fact. I mean, potentially I've seen the wind so strong that we wouldn't be able to have the bike. That would be rare, but it would be not as rare to have the wind strong enough to blow somebody into the ditch if they weren't holding onto their bike in the right way. You can hold onto your bike too tight and not tight enough, so just be very aware of that. The weather on top of the mountain now for the bike twice and for the run twice when you come back over, that weather is almost certainly going to be shit at some point. Every time I've been there and gone over these mountains, the weather's been, it's on top of a mountain and there's usually a system of some kind. So I would say a majority of the time though, it's kind of drizzly, a little windy and foggy, and then you could be unlucky and get the pure crap,
So what kind of range of temperature are we going to experience over the course of the event?
I would say the whole thing is going to be the same, meaning on average, the water and the air temperature will be about the same the entire time. That's how it was last year. Now, as I said, being 10 to 13 degrees Celsius, 50 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, that being said, there were definitely sections of the run that were in the low 30s. I don't know what that is in Celsius, but low 30s for Fahrenheit on top of the mountain. It dropped quite a bit. But then there were sections on the bike that were probably 65 in the sun out, although they were very short-lived. So I would guess, I would venture to say they will be low 50s is safe. And on top of the mountain, think about 10 degrees less, 10 degrees Fahrenheit, whatever that is. Sorry, I know it's super annoying for those of you that are Celsius.
So
Hello,
Yeah.
I'm Hughes. Is there a cutoff time for the race?
Yes. Hold on. Let me go back here. If you go to info and schedule and locations, and then you scroll down. So here are the cutoffs right here for the swim. The The full distance and the half is 2 hours.
Yes.
So it's 1 hour for the half because it starts at 1 and 2 hours for the full. And then the half distance bike is at 6 o'clock. So depending on what time you get out of the swim, but we kind of just figured like if you do a 3:06 pace on average, you're going to get, well, these are all in kilometers. Sorry. So I don't know what that translates, or 15 miles an hour. Sorry, I have it right here. So you'd have to hold for the half of 15 mile an hour on the bike for the, let's see, hold on. Where's that at? Caught me off guard just a little bit there. Okay, so the bike cutoff, you got to average for the half about 15 miles an hour. That's assuming you are right at the swim cutoff. And then for the half on the run course, it's a run pace of 18:20 per mile, and the equivalent in kilometers is here. And again, these cutoffs are all assuming that you meet the previous cutoff right at the cutoff, not that you got in a little early. Otherwise, this is a little more time you're allowed. So then the, let's see, the full distance bike cutoff is 9 hours, 14 miles an hour, 22 kilometers per hour. And then the full distance run course cutoff is 11:30 per kilometer or 18:30 per mile average. So I will say with that, if the weather is good, everything is good, everyone's spirits are high, we will do everything we can to extend that. I cannot guarantee that. That is a lot of time. If you're training properly, you should be able to hit those. But then again, if weather is absolutely brutal and the bike course has horrid wind the entire time, you may not be able to hit those cutoffs. We may find that half the race can't hit that. If we can extend it a little, we will. We're not going to extend it hours and hours or anything like that. But if everyone looks like they're coming in, weather's been bad, they're coming in within 30 minutes of it, then we'll see what we can do. There might be the other thing where, you know, weather's so bad on top of the mountain that we're approaching cutoff. There's a few people up there, and unfortunately, we have to pull them a little early. We have to do whatever's safe, especially in the environment on top of the mountain, especially if winds are blowing people off bikes, things like that. So just keep that in mind. But our goal is obviously for you to finish.
Okay.
Other questions, guys?
I don't know if you can hear me. This is Roy from Florida. Can anybody hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Oh, hello.
See it too.
So on the Hammer products, that be the same products on the run at the run aid stations every 10K
Yes.
approximately. Okay.
We'd have heat and mixed in the cooler, and then we would have the gels as well. And we'll have a container of water and a container of heat, and then all those gels. So
Excellent. And ECAPs.
We'll have some type of salt there. If I don't know which kind yet. Yeah, they should send us those. They didn't say they would, but they're great to work with. So
Yeah,
we'll try to
good
have
company.
salt pills like that as well. Yeah,
Very
they're
good.
great. They're awesome.
Thank you.
Something I was going to mention about the aid stations, guys. So we didn't have any issues with volunteers at all. Everyone was happy to come out, but you never know because volunteering is just that. If the weather's bad, you never know who might come out. We will at the very least have these aid stations set up. It could be something, who knows what happens with COVID. Iceland's been very strict about their protocols with that. So who knows what we're allowed to do or who shows up, right? So be prepared. This isn't like other triathlons where, you know, you're going to have hand ups and volunteers necessarily handing you everything you do. It may be something where you approach the table and maybe there's some cups, maybe there's stuff in containers and you have to go open a container. You have to put all your stuff in yourself. No one's there to help you, but the stuff is still out there. The supplies are out there. At the very least, we will have that, but we are definitely shooting to help in any way that you guys need it manually as well.
Aaron, I'm sorry if I missed it. Where's a good place for the full on the bike course for support to pull over?
Anywhere that you can safely, where there's enough room. There's a lot of places where it's not safe to do so. We're going to leave it up to your best judgment. There's no reason at all that outside of maybe pulling into where T2 is, I would say the best place to start is probably at 40K right here. I mean, there's really no reason that somebody needs food or bottles or anything in that first, hour. What's 40K? 40, it's 24 miles or so. Yeah, I mean, that is an hour, hour and a half, whatever that is. So you should definitely be able to carry enough. This is pretty congested in here for sure. But that early in the morning, you could pull off into a number of the shops or whatever in here and you should be fine. We're not going to get on you too much unless you're acting, if anyone's acting stupid or disrespectful out there, well, we'll have a real problem, but I don't foresee that happening. So yeah, just really anywhere you can. I would recommend not pulling off where other people are either. Spread out, and you can do the run alongside them. So if I'm riding up on my bike and I see you in the distance and your car's parked off, you've got a bottle, you're standing off the side of the road, but you're right on that white line and it's safe to do so. And the rider wants to get up. Let's say they are on a mountain or a TT bike, or they're down in the drops on a road bike, whatever. And they get up safely and they're emptying their bottle and they want to toss that off the side of the road and grab one from you as you're running alongside them. That's fine. Just don't get in the way. There could be other riders out there. Make sure you stay off the side. That rider can get a little closer to the edge and get that from you safely. You pick up any waste that rider tossed off and discarded, and you're on your way. You are leapfrogging them as a support team, and pass this along if support's not listening. You are leapfrogging them on the course. You are not riding behind them with your blinkers on. You are not riding beside them slowly. If you go to pass them and you slow down for 5 seconds to say, hey, good job, and then you speed off, that's fine, whatever. We probably wouldn't even notice it. You know the difference between that and following them and tying up traffic and being unsafe. Now, that being said, when you're pulling off, relay to your support crew, they need to be very aware. I mean, I've seen, even though they're so spread out, I've seen instances in all kinds of races, whether it's in Europe or our Alaska race we had or Hawaii, where people in support assume it's clear and they pull off the right on the shoulder, and there was a bike like 30 feet from them. They almost slammed into them. So always assume that there's someone over your shoulder. Always look. Okay. Any other questions, guys? We're right at about an hour here.
So you mentioned on the aid, they'll have the Hammer Heed, which is their electrolyte drink I'm quite fond of. But they also have the Perpetuum, which is more for longer distances, which includes proteins. Do you know if you'll have both the Perpetuum Heed?
I'm going to try and get as much from them as I can. They just put in the email Perpetuum, so they didn't go further into what that is. I believe the packets they're giving you are Heed in your race packet, but I can request both. I'm sure companies like that have it stockpiled. It doesn't cost them a whole hell of a lot to give a little bit more. And as someone already said, Hammer is an awesome company, so I'll request Perpetuum and Heed, and who knows, maybe we can have a cooler of all of that out there. I'll do my best.
What kind of numbers do you have signed up for the half and the full?
Last time I looked, it was about half and half. I haven't looked in a while. It hasn't really gone anywhere. It's at 60. Unfortunately, what happens is everyone signs up for the extreme triathlons kind of all at once because they all open at once. And the thing I think we hit is that everyone had been rolled over on all the other ones that had happened. And so everyone's schedule is kind of packed. So I think we'll probably end up hopefully around 75, and hopefully it's still that 50-50 breakdown. I really appreciate you 59-60 that are signed up. I don't know how many of those are going to show up. I know that there's the stipulation of being vaccinated to enter their country. And so I don't know how many are going to do it. I hope all 60 or more show up. So we're really looking forward to seeing everyone in racing again.
Do you have a list of competitors on the site ahead of time?
Yes, but you should be able to also, let me post on that. You should be able to go into where registration is and under the search tab. And I know that's not just common knowledge, but under the search tab, if you just hit search without putting anyone in the field, it should populate everyone in the race. So you can look at it that way, but we can also export a list by now. I mean, the registrations we'll get will trickle in. So yeah, we'll download and put that out there. I think Tony did a little bit ago, but we didn't add it to the website. So
it's on
Aaron,
Facebook, on the Facebook page.
yeah, and I know not everyone's on that all the time, so I'll post that to the actual to the actual website. And something else just to know, we do make sure we have all the support registered. So a number of the 60 is also support. There should be, I want to say like 80 or 90 total signed up if all the support for the full signs up as well. So it's okay if you don't have your support yet and you're in the full, not a big deal. But if you do have support, get them to sign up. They sign up just as you did for the race itself, and they go through a series of questions. They don't have to pay anything, and that gets them in there. They sign the waivers. They're in our system for check-in and all that. And then also we do a social swim the day before that morning. So if you sign up for that, we like to make sure everyone has that waiver signed. We know who's coming, how many to expect. And it's just a good way to meet people and kind of calm your nerves and everything like that. So, and if you've done any of the other X-Tri swims, in any of the, I would say probably any other extreme tri swim, this is probably the most enjoyable. Definitely the easiest so far. I know we've only had 1 year, but it's at the foot of Kirkafell, which is the most photographed and famous mountain in Iceland over the years. If you watched Game of Thrones back in the day, it was one of the ones in whatever winter scenes they showed. It's the spiral looking pointed one. That's Kirkafell, for those that don't know. But it's kind of cool to start at the foot of that, especially in twilight. It'll be something really neat for you guys.
Hey, Aaron.
Yeah.
That one swim that you were talking about day before. So would that be Thursday or Friday, the day before the evening of the start of the run?
Friday, and I'm looking off screen here, guys. Sorry, I'm looking at my screen instead of the camera. But Friday, that starts at 6 a.m. So it's 6 to 7 a.m. Packet pickup is from 7:30 to 8:45. And I know that's early, I realize. But if you're going to be getting some sleep prior to starting at midnight, we have to do all these things as early as possible. So the briefing is 9 to 10 a.m. So really what you're going to do, assuming you're doing all three of these things, you would do the 6 to 7 social swim. 30 minutes later, sometime between 7:30 and 8:45, you do packet pickup. And then we roll that right into a 9 to 10 a.m. mandatory briefing, which is in the same location as packet pickup, all very simple. And by 10 a.m., you're out. And then that's up to you. We have, let's see, 10 o'clock is when we open transition. And that's open till, what do I have at 11:30, and we walk down at 11:30. So just figure out how you're going to get sleep in there. Most people only sleep 4 to 6 hours anyway, but we want to give you all the opportunity we can.
So the transition opens 10:30 in the evening, 12 hours later.
10, yeah, 10. It's 10 to 11:30. It's open for an hour. Yep.
Not right after the 10 o'clock briefing.
Oh no, God no. I'm not sitting there watching those bikes.
Will the swim buoys be out for the social swim?
I believe they had one out last year because they didn't need to be inflated. Now we are going to borrow some from Hoob this year. They have some. So, we'll put one out there, maybe two. We're not going to set the entire course or anything, but you guys are certainly welcome as long as the weather's good to swim as much as you want. Like I said, it's as long as you're in shape, you swim at your own risk kind of deal, but you can swim the whole course if you wanted to. It's no big deal. But yeah, we'll have one or two out just so you can practice sighting and things like that. Any other questions?
How windy is the swim area? In terms of water conditions and?
It's one of those things where there's so many states where you say, if you don't like the weather, it'll change. Just wait a minute, it'll change. It's the same thing in Iceland. I mean, it literally changed. I think in 2019, like every hour it was different. And I don't know if you heard at the beginning, but I said that I witnessed in, I believe it was 2018, a water spout on the swim course. And then every other time I had seen it, it was fine. It was like glass. So more often than not, that swim's okay. Now the wind is more likely and the weather is more likely to be good at midnight going through. There won't be as many cars, if any. The wind and the weather will be better, hopefully. But I will say that last year, I'm a landscape photographer, but the last year we had it in 2019, I stayed for 3 or 4 days after to take landscape photography photos from all around. I went out to the very western edge, eastern edge, I'm sorry, which is where Vesterhorn is. Awesome mountain, if you know what it is. I went out there that was the windiest condition outside of an actual tornado I've ever been in my life. I saw orange lightning out there on the Atlantic. It was crazy. I actually slept in my car. The whole car was rocking. I swear the wheels came up at some point. Scariest overnight experience ever. The lady there said that that storm comes through maybe once a year, maybe once every 2 years. But I will say that that storm lost almost no power as it went through all of Iceland. And for almost a week after our event, starting like 2 days after, it was the windiest it was the entire year. Now, had that come through a week earlier, we wouldn't have had the race. There's no way if that wind. So that being said, some contingents. Very, very rare that we would cancel, okay? But if we do, we would not cancel the entire thing. I mean, wind is wind, right? You can at least run in wind. Most likely you could swim in that lake in wind because the waves are that choppy, kind of not the big, huge waves because it's shallow. So we're going to do everything possible. Like if we had to cancel the bike for some reason, we would still try and have the swim. We would still almost certainly have that run. So we're going to give you guys something. Don't worry about us canceling the whole thing. I mean, it would be the most dire conditions you've ever seen. Like we're talking volcano explodes and hurricanes and tornadoes come out of nowhere to cancel the whole thing. So, but we are on a volcano, so don't count that out.
Iron, I have to go. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions, guys, before we wrap this up?
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
It's
very
fun
much.
seeing you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Be safe. Bye.